Well, if you've clicked on the video, then you know what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about funerals. So if you have recently lost someone that's close to you, friend, family member, whoever, and you've had to recently deal with this might not be the video for you. You might want to save this one for later. So I'm not going to apologize though for the subject, because I made sure I was clear in the title, so you know what you're getting when you click on this. So Kevin and I have some things that I'm hoping, some thoughts that I've had about funerals that I'm hoping that you all will find helpful. I have not personally been to a funeral since 2011.
Yeah, it's been
for you too. Or did we go to somebody's that you work with before that? Was that before Mom died?
Yeah, it was before.
It was before.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it was right around the same time, but regardless,
it
it's
was
been a long
close.
time.
Yeah. So we haven't been to a funeral since 2011, but there are just certain things to do with a funeral, surrounding the funeral, that I think can help other people. And you're probably wondering, why in the world did you pick this subject? Because we've had other videos that are dedicated to one subject that we'll expand on, and just to help explain our story. So like we did a video about how we met, and we talked about where we met and how we got married and all that stuff, and a lot of people have been interested in that. We had a video that just talked about how we quit smoking. So this one, I think that once you've had a loved one or somebody, you know, somebody who's died, there's certain things that there's things that you like, or maybe things that you didn't like about it. And what got me to thinking about this was, on my bookshelf out in the den is this box. And it's just a plain white box, and it sits on the bookshelf, and no one knows what it is. But
nobody ever looks at it.
No one has ever opened it, but me, I don't think. But I know what's in the box. And what is in the box is a guest book. This was the guest book from my mother's funeral. And I don't think my dad is the one that paid for the funeral, her insurance, and he paid for her monument and everything. But I believe, pretty sure when we went to the funeral home, they said this was part of it, it was included. So I don't know that it was broken down in any way to where you could see exact prices. It might have been. I do not know how much this book cost. But now I was thinking about it today, and I just thought, this is kind of an old-fashioned thing. Now, I'm going to say some things. Kevin's probably going to say some things in this video. We're not picking on anybody. If these are our feelings for us personally, you absolutely have every right to feel the way you want to feel. I'm not debating anything. These are just very personal feelings. I'm also very, very curious about how other people feel about this subject too. I'm always always curious. So, but this is one of those things that comes across to me is very old-fashioned, to have a guest book, because when you get the guest book after the funeral's over with, you look at it probably one time. You look at it
just to see if was such and such there, or
right, because normally during a funeral you don't get to shake hands with everybody.
No.
It's not a time where you get to do that. So it's nice, or if somebody showed up late, or if somebody had to leave early and maybe you didn't get the chance to interact with them at all, this is their way of saying, hey, I was here. But I still think it's not like I'm sending a thank you letter to everyone who signed their name in this guest book.
It's just their name.
It's just their name. It's just letting you know that they were there. So I do think that this is kind of an old-fashioned thing.
Especially now that they have the online things where people can sign up online to leave
people can leave messages.
Yeah, and leave messages online saying, of course they weren't necessarily at the funeral, but still, I think the whole point of the guest book is so these are the people that showed up and were thinking about you. And if you wanted to I don't know what you do with it.
Exactly. And
now, if you hold yours dear and look at yours, and you may look at it every week,
that's fine.
That's fine. We're just saying, I've never understood the reasoning behind it.
No, because that's my thinking. I was looking at this box on the shelf and I thought, I can hold on to that for the next 30 years. And then when I die, Andrew and Ashley,
they're going to look at that and go,
what's this? And throw it away. Or look at it and be like, oh, well, but what did they care? What do they care? Truly, when it comes down to it, what do they care who came to their grandmother's funeral? It just makes no difference. And it's not like all of these people gave flowers or something, because you do get a separate envelope that says flower cards for the funeral of. And so all of these in here, I haven't even opened this, since then. But, so there's all kinds of cards from people who gave flowers. And so what I did, there is a place, is it in the back of this? No, I think it's in the back of another book. Yeah, it's in the back of another book. There's a place where you write down who you sent thank you cards to. That way you can keep track of it. This one. This is things to remember. And so this is actually from the funeral home. They give you this, and honestly, this was free. This was the book that was helpful, because there's a place to put all this. The purpose of this book is to help keep a record of food that was furnished, friends who came to the funeral home, so you don't even have to have that one. So if that book, let's just say they were charging $50 for people to sign, they could have signed this book, or you could have kept track in this book. Telephone calls, people who were helpful, floral tributes, estate information. You can keep all that in this book. And so that's what I did, was when I got the flowers, I'm the one who made the thank you cards out. So I wrote the names down in this book, and as I would make a thank you card out, I would write their name down to make sure that everybody got a thank you card. But I just thought that book, the guest book, to me, it's unnecessary, I think. Yeah. It's just unnecessary to me. So that was one thing. So if they are charging a lot, I don't know how much they charge for them. Personally, I don't care if my funeral, if they have a guest book or not, because I don't think anybody's going to care about that in the long run. I do think that definitely funerals are for the living. Funerals are for the family and friends. It's a place for, you love this person and everybody wants to get together because you all have this in common. You might not agree on anything else, but you can all agree that you love this person and you want to get together to honor this person. So, with that being said, I wanted to touch on the subject of flowers. So I know this is going to be a very touchy subject, and if you want to spend $1 million on your funeral for flowers, then that's fine. But I will not buy flowers for a funeral again.
Well, I tell you, a lot of people,
I personally will not.
A lot of people in their obituaries say, in lieu of flowers, send a donation to wherever.
Right.
You see that more and more and more people are doing that.
You do. I think flowers are it's so traditional.
Yeah, it is.
It's so.
When you see the casket or whatever up there, you normally do see flowers.
Big spray of flowers. Yeah. But I'm going to be very honest with you. I would be completely fine with just having a picture, like an 8x10 or 5x7 picture right there in the middle of the casket, and I don't need any flowers, just because it is so much money that I would rather support the living than the dead who's not even my mom didn't know that people bought flowers for her. She had no idea. She didn't know that anybody spent money on flowers for her.
And would probably rather people have given money to the church or something.
Right, because she's gone. And you know what? That might have been in her obituary. Let me see what it says. hold on. Memorial contributions may be made to Central Baptist Church. So that's what she would have wanted. She would have rather people make a check out to her church. That was the name of her church. She would have rather you given the money to the church than to give flowers, because those flowers are going to die. And honestly, it's a job for the family. So you might think, oh, these flowers are gorgeous and they're beautiful and I'm buying them for them. But then the family, after the funeral, they have to take those home and do something. And honestly,
except the really big ones.
Except for the big ones that they leave
at the gravesite.
Right. But we literally had flowers around for like a week after, and it's just a constant reminder. And especially with carnations to me, just that smell, I equate the smell, and it's a shame because they're very pretty flowers, but for me it's carnations equal the smell, the funeral smell. It just does for me, because I've been to so many funerals that have carnations. And so for us having to bring those flowers home and deal with them, it was just a lot. And some people they're like, oh, well, you can take them to a nursing home. Mm-hmm. Give them to a nursing home. True. I'd rather you not do that at all, though. I would rather you give money to, if you want to give it to somebody's church. I had a friend and her dad died, and he had wishes that in lieu of flowers, please send money to the church. I had no problem at all writing a check. I felt much better, and honestly, I gave more. I gave more money through a check than I would have spent on flowers anyway. But
you're always going to get people that want to do the flower thing, though.
You are. Yeah. But I'm trying to change some people's minds.
I think a lot of it is an age thing too. The younger people probably are less likely to give flowers than the older people.
I'm just trying to change some people's minds here. That's why I'm doing this video, or make you think about it, because I would so much rather you give to, like one that's close to my heart. It's called Kentuckiana Pug Rescue. I would rather you donate to pugs who are alive and need help. There's all kinds of leukemia foundations, and there's hospitals, children's hospitals, St. Jude. There's just people who are alive who could benefit from your donation. Even if you're thinking, oh, I'm only going to spend $20 or $30 on flowers. Well, that's $20 or $30 that you could be giving them instead of spending it on some flowers that are going to die. So florists are going to hate me for saying that, but I really do feel that way about it. I just feel like your money is better spent to donate to the living than somebody, the dead, who don't even know that you've done this for them. And then I also wanted to talk about how my mom did her funeral, because ever since she died, I think it's very, very traditional for people to kind of spread funerals out several days.
It depends on the culture and stuff like that.
It does. And so I'm going to be so curious, because if you do spread it out days, I don't have an issue with that. But I would love for you to tell us, like in the United Kingdom, we spread it out 5 days. If you do, tell me that. I'm truly curious. But I love the way that Mom did her funeral.
The traditional
way around here. You go ahead.
Is usually you have a visitation for at least a couple nights, if not 3 or 4 nights, depending on how popular that person
usually
was.
It's 2.
Yeah, 2 nights usually, and then the funeral's like the 3rd night or whatever, or the 3rd day. But you usually have a visitation. Usually it starts in the mid-afternoon and goes to the evening, and people can come visit the casket and the family for like 2 days. Mm-hmm. And then that 3rd day, you usually have a very short visitation, and then you go to the church or something like that. That's traditional around here.
Right.
And like I said, now if it's a public figure or somebody that's really like well known, they may have more than 2 days, because they know a lot more people are going to show up. But yeah, it just depends. Yeah. So that's so traditional. But
Mom, being Mom, she was like,
she had to do it different.
She wanted to do it different, but I loved it.
Yeah, I liked how she did it.
She did not want to bother anybody. She didn't want to inconvenience anybody. She didn't want to, she felt bad. She knew people were going to come, but she didn't want anybody to have to miss work, to take off work, to quit doing whatever they were doing, to take time out of their busy schedule to come to her funeral. She knew people were going to, but it made her feel bad. So she decided, I'm going to do it all in one day. I'm going to have a visitation for, I believe, pretty sure it was like 2 hours. And then after that, we're going to jump right into the funeral and have the funeral right there all at one time.
It was all at the church.
It was in the church. It was in the sanctuary. So her casket's down there. She had the visitation. She had the funeral. And then right after the funeral, we went to the cemetery. And then it was over in one day. And let me tell you, she truly was being thoughtful when she did that, because I think that was better for us. Speaking just personally for our family, I think it was so much easier on our family to do it all in one day than to go through this process where, okay, I have to be at the funeral home tonight from 6 to 8 for visitation. People are going to come. Then you go home. Next night, okay, I've got to be at the funeral for two more hours. People are going to come. It's this drawn out grieving process, and you're exhausted. You're just physically and mentally exhausted because this person has just died. And for us, Mom had had cancer for years. So we had known for a while. We were very fortunate that we had that time to prepare. But it was so much easier on us to do it all in one day and be finished with it. And Kevin and I both went away from that experience saying, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to do it all in one day.
Matter of fact, a lot of funeral homes they have little chapels in them. So you could do a visitation in the funeral home itself, and then do the service right afterwards, and then go to the gravesite. So
right,
they're getting more and more set up for that, where you don't have to go, because traditionally you go from the funeral home, which has the visitation area, then you go to the church for the actual funeral, and then you go again to the graveside, which usually is just close family. Depends. Sometimes it's not just close family, but normally it's close family. So you're moving 3 times, whereas if you do it all in one place, you're done.
It's a lot. It really is a lot. And I think you have to think about the living people. You have to think about the emotions and all the feelings of the people who are having to deal with this, you know?
And it worked out well, because the people that came to visitation for her, they took off work that one day, and they were there. Whereas the visitation would have been, it may have caught more people. More people may have been able to come visit that couldn't get off work. That's true. So we did miss those people that couldn't get off work. They took from getting to come see her that day. But most of those people had made sure they saw her before she passed away. So,
yeah, I agree.
So it worked out, and it was much easier on the family.
Right.
Just something to think about. One of those things you don't think about. And I know some places they're traditionally may have 2 week, 3 weeks funerals. Where they're singing and dancing every day. I mean, every society's different.
Yes. Well, a lot of societies, they have special days where they go to the graves and they spend time on the grave.
We do too, but you don't see many people doing it.
No, but
like Memorial Day.
Right. I do find that other cultures very, very interesting, though.
Have you ever been to a funeral for a cremated person? I've never been to one.
I have not.
Huh. I've never been to one.
Yes. You and I both went, but you don't remember.
Did they have the urn and everything?
No. She was in the casket, and then they cremated her after the funeral.
Is that how they do it? I didn't know that. See, I don't know. I didn't know. I'd never.
Well, that's how
done
that family chose to do it. That family chose to.
So they had visitations like normal with the casket and everything.
Yes,
but instead of burying the casket, they cremated.
Yes, they chose to display her.
Okay, I got you. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that brings me to a different subject, which is whether you want to display your loved one or not. Now, that might sound like that's a very, very, very personal decision. That is something that the funeral director will ask you, and that is something that honestly, it's nice to ask your loved one. I know it sounds like a horrible, morbid question, but these are things that we went over with my mom because
she brought it up.
We had time to prepare. I have a piece of paper in here where I wrote down names of the people that she wanted to sing and the songs that she wanted sung and played. And one of the things that she made clear was that she did not want to be on display. And honest to goodness, I like that decision too. Yeah. Now, not everybody's going to agree with that, and most of the funerals, to be very blunt, that we have been to, they've all been open casket.
Yeah, I think everything I've ever been to.
I think hers is the only funeral that I've ever been to that was closed. Save for one, it was no. I've been to two that were closed casket. Now that I think about it, they were both car wrecks. They were both.
I was going to say, yeah, but they almost had to have it.
One was a motorcycle accident and one was a car accident, and those were because they had to be. My mom just chose
not to be
to not be seen just because you look different. So if you've ever been to a funeral, you know that the person does not look like they did when they were alive. The second that they die, they look different. I was in the room with my mother when she passed on, and she immediately looked different, completely different. And so I think she made the right decision to have it closed casket. I really appreciated that. And that way too, as a family member, as her daughter, there's nothing for me to visualize there.
Even though you were in the
though I was in the room, I wasn't in the room long enough to hold on to that. I didn't dwell on that. So whereas my last image probably would have been in her casket if I had seen that, because we never saw her in there, my images of her are her living.
Yeah, but some people need the visual for closure.
To believe it, to make it real for them, and I totally understand
to get that closure in your life.
Yes.
And you know what? They offered, the funeral home offered a family visitation before. We had a family visitation for like half an hour before the regular public visitation.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They said, do you want it open during the family visitation? Right. And then we could close it during the personal. I don't think we did.
We didn't.
But we could have. We could have chose to have it open during the immediate family, and then for the public had it closed. So you can choose. I mean, it's very personalized.
But
so
we knew that she did not want that.
Yeah, she didn't want to be remembered that way. So and they did go ahead and put makeup and all that stuff on her. He said, just in case you change your mind, we'll go ahead and do everything like we normally would. And I would say it's included in the cost anyway of whatever the package or whatever they do.
Right.
But, yeah.
So another thing you want to think about, and it's good, once again, to talk to the person, if you have the opportunity before they pass, is to ask them things like about rings, their wedding ring, earrings, things like that, glasses. I had forgotten that we had actually discussed her glasses and her rings and stuff. I had forgotten about the glasses part. It was on my piece of paper in here that I had written down. No rings, no glasses, no earring, no nothing like that. So when Mom died, and I think that's smart. I personally don't want my jewelry to be buried with me.
Unless it's costume jewelry, that's something.
Unless it's costume, that's fine. It doesn't
really have any significance to you.
I think if it has any monetary value at all, that's something that I would keep with the family if you can.
Or any personal just just memories for you.
Yeah, then I would try to keep that. So that's something that
yeah, because once it's buried with them, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was because we did have, we knew that Mom was dying. I was able to take lots and lots of pictures. So I've always been the picture taker in the family anyway. So when I die, there's hardly going to be any pictures of me.
My Bigfoot.
besides what's left on YouTube, because I'm the one that takes the pictures. So when I found out that Mom was dying, she constantly had people coming over and visiting with her and seeing her. Anytime she had people coming over, I was here and I would take a picture. So I got lots of pictures with Mom and her friends. And so what we decided to do at a lot of funerals, they'll have like cork boards. And I've seen those, like 3 or 4 cork boards on easels. Kind of like, I've seen the same thing at weddings. Truly.
One beginning and another one's at the end.
That's right. I've seen it at weddings, like pictures of the happy couple on corkboards, and I've seen pictures at funerals of the deceased in different parts of their life. And so with Mom, because we knew, we knew that she wanted to have a what do you call it?
Like a slideshow.
A slideshow, yeah.
A montage of pictures.
Yes, and so during her visitation, because we did have it in the church sanctuary, they have these huge screens. Yeah, and so the entire time that visitation was going on, and I think it helped too because it was closed casket. It gave people something to look at. So we're not seeing the dead person in the casket. We're seeing this person live their life and happy moments, and when she was with my dad when they were young, and just in all aspects of life, you see them. And I think that is very helpful too. Because her friends were there at the funeral, and then they're up there on the screen. You had family members, and I think that was nice too.
It was.
Would that be something you would want too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I'm dead. What do I care?
I think it's nice
truthfully,
for the family and friends.
It's neat to have something there for them to look at and remember and talk about. It's like, oh, I remember when we went through that.
Especially if it's a closed casket, where are they going to look at?
Yeah, I think it was neat.
There's no flowers.
And they just played some music, like very light, like piano music underneath of it. It was just generic piano music.
Yeah. But then she had already chosen, like I said, for her funeral, she had already chosen people that she wanted to. I got up and I
sing and present during the actual funeral.
Yeah, so I got up and I read something that she wanted me to read. It was something I had sent her an email, and I read that. And then she had already chosen the people that she wanted to sing, and then the preacher, he was actually the music director at the time. He's the one that did the funeral, that talked at her funeral. But it was just really, really nice, I think, to have it all in one day. And I just wanted you all to think about, to give you something to think about when it comes to other people's funerals. You know, if somebody puts in the newspaper in lieu of flowers, then I would think that that's really what they wanted.
They really don't want you to spend money on the flowers.
Yeah. And I tell you something neat, and a lot of you might think it's morbid, but I like it. One of Ashley's friends gave us a bush. And so it was different because we planted it in the backyard of our old house, so it's not here. But what was neat is it came with this silver ornament, this like angel ornament, and it was a modern angel ornament. So anyway, I kept that and I put it on the tree every year. And Kevin probably doesn't even realize that. He wouldn't even remember.
Pretty sure I know the angel you're talking about,
because it's modern looking.
But I didn't remember where it came from.
It was on that bush that Ashley's friends and family gave us. And so we didn't keep the bush, but we have the ornament to hang on the tree every year, you know? So anyway, I just, I hope this video,
didn't depress you too much.
I hope it didn't, no, I'm truly hoping the whole point of this was that I would think about what you spend your money on for funerals. If you are spending a lot of extra money on a guest book, I would rethink that, because
or think about what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that? Because it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Yes, it's nice that people came in and signed it. A lot of people came to her funeral. There's a lot of names in this book, and it's neat. But you know, what do you do with it then? And so I just would like to give you some things to think about, you know, before it's too late. So if you have any thoughts, if you would like to tell me what you do in your area.
Yeah, what traditions do you all have?
I would absolutely love to hear.
Like one thing I can think of is around here, everybody I know of around every funeral I've ever seen, the pallbearers carry the casket with their hands hanging down at their side.
Yes,
and you carry
straight.
It. The ones we've seen in the UK, I don't know if they're all like this, but the one we've seen at the UK, put your arm up here, they're like this, and the casket
is like
up on
here.
their shoulders. Yeah,
and it's like,
and we're supporting each other.
And it's like, how in the world are they carrying that heavy,
and then they've got this hand like holding it up
on their shoulder?
Yeah.
We don't even know how they do that.
So that it's interesting, and the carts that they use, they either use carts like Louisiana. Uses like horse and buggy carts sometimes,
which is really cool.
We have just basically big station wagons around here with tinted windows,
right?
But you look in the UK, they've got they're kind of like bigger versions of what we have, but theirs is glass windows and you can see the casket inside. Around here,
like that.
Around here, you don't even, you know what's in there, but you don't see what's in there. You don't
see it.
Yeah, but there, it's like, we're not ashamed to show you this casket. Here it is. You know,
over here, it's almost like, you know what's in there, but we don't want you to have to see. Yeah. We don't want you to see it.
It's interesting.
And then you said something else that reminded me of something else in the UK. You had the shape of the caskets. Some of the shape, I mean, we've seen recent shows from the UK, and some of those caskets are very traditional.
Like what we think of like Dracula.
And I hate to say that.
Like just pine boxes that we'd had in the Old West or something.
Yeah, that have the traditional like shape.
Straight down.
And then kind of angled in.
For your shoulders. Yeah.
We've seen those, and I mean, that's modern day, whereas over here.
Over here, they're like vaults. They're like
huge, massive things.
Big boxes, yeah.
So, yeah, it can be a depressing subject, but you could also really help somebody out. You let them know how you do things, and there may be somebody out there watching this video right now who needs this help, who needs the support, who's thinking, you know what, I don't need to spend all that money on those flowers. Let's donate that money to an animal shelter, or you know, something like that, or for something else.
Yeah, whatever you choose, whatever they prefer, the person that passed away prefers.
Exactly. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.